Kendall's looking. Okay, I'm going to keep talking
looking.
while Kendall's looking. I'm going to segue us to a topic that actually is a play and not a conspiracy theory. And that is something that Kendall brought up on the last episode. He mentioned that LeBron James, who deserves to be in this conversation with Michael Jordan, it's a great time to buy LeBron James cards. And I totally do not disagree with Kendall. In fact, I agreed with him on the show. But what I wanted to make sure that we did here was that we followed up and that we were very specific about this, because my concern with LeBron James and other athletes who I'm sure you all in the audience have a ton of examples of, is that just there's a ridiculous amount of his cards. We've had Andy Kaysen, our football card strategy show host at nooffseason.com, talk about the amount of Joe Burrow cards. And he says there's something like almost 5,000 of them. And LeBron might be close to that. They're going to have to fact check me, but just looking at LeBron James rookie cards, he might be close to that. So what I want to talk about here is I did a little bit of digging. And I don't know what his prices are going to do. I don't think any of us really know what his prices are going to do. Like, they've gone down. So is it a better time now to invest in LeBron than it was 12 months ago? Yes, probably. 18 months ago, definitely, because that was February 2021, which is like the peak. But what I want to make sure we don't do is we don't tell people to just go buy LeBron, because I'm not confident that we're going to see an uptick in LeBron prices anytime soon, meaning like anytime in the next 2 years. Now, will there be an uptick in LeBron prices should he make it to another NBA Finals? Will there be an uptick in LeBron prices when he retires, when he will beat Kareem Abdul-Jabbar as the all-time leading scorer in the NBA? So definitely there will be an uptick in his prices when that happens, because that is a once-in-a-lifetime thing. That's not just like a regular accomplishment. That's like a big effing deal. So there's definitely markers. We've talked about Bronny on the show, him playing with his son, all that stuff. Yes. There are tons of markers for LeBron. But if you're kind of like me and you don't necessarily want to hold for like years on a card, here's a couple plays for you that I found, and you can love me or hate me in the comments. But I think grading specific LeBron cards make a lot of sense. This is not something that we talk about very often anymore in the hobby because of PSA being shut down for a year and all that stuff. But I think now that PSA is back open at the economy service level, what you can do, I think, is you can buy LeBron rookie cards, 2 or 3 specifically that I've seen. One is the 2003 Fleer base. And if you just kind of look at the raw prices, the raw price of this card is about at what a PSA 7 is. And the 2003 Topps Chrome is about the same thing. Now, one's a little bit riskier than the other because you can buy the Fleer base for about $400. The Topps Chrome is going to run you raw more like over $1,000. But if you were to get a PSA 8 or even 7 of that, you're kind of breaking even. If you end up pulling a 9 or a 10, you're doubling or even 7xing your profit margin on those cards. And then if you look at the 2003 Topps base, where he's holding up his jersey, the Topps Chrome, I think, is the one where he's in the jump shot, and the jersey is the Topps base, I believe, paper. But that's raw around $300 right now. In PSA 9, it's double that. In PSA 8, it's more than that. In PSA 7, it's about the same as that. In PSA 6, it's not even that much less than that. And in PSA 10 or BGS 9.5, you're looking at a big profit margin. Now, the crossover grading, if you're not with me on the raw play, the crossover grading from SGC or BGS over to PSA, you still get a pretty solid profit margin if you were to buy like an SGC 8, 8.5, SGC 9. And if you were to get a higher grade than that over at PSA, or if you were to buy a BGS 9.5 and it crosses over, even worst case scenario, to like a PSA 9 or PSA 8, you're not out that much money, and it's worth the risk to try to get a 10. So I just think do some research around grading those specifically those 3 LeBron cards, can you find them raw in decent enough condition to where you're confident to get at least a 7 from PSA? Or if you're not that risky and you can't see the card raw, do you want to cross it over? I think it's a play right now. I think that might be a better LeBron play for people who are like me and may want to move out of it before the next 2 years, rather than people maybe more like you, or you Kendall, or you audience, fill in the blank here, who may be okay holding for 5 to 10 years on a LeBron card.
Yeah, I think I brought up LeBron specifically for the long-term play. Like, I think what I'm trying to do is, like, when I look to my right here, I've got all of my, cards. Like, I've got them all shelved and in boxes over here. And I'm thinking, okay, my strategy is to turn these cards into cards that I send to a vault.
Yep.
And the cards that I send to a vault go and play towards my net worth.
Yep.
And so, like, so for instance, if you did listen to the soccer episode that we put out that is airing today, as like whenever this episode's out, whenever it airs, me and Trey talked about. So Trey's strategy is he is selling investable cards to build into his PC so he can show off cool soccer cards in his office that he wants to look at all the time. That is not my strategy. I do not care what these things look like. I want them to build my net worth. And so, like, not that I think that Trey's dumb. Like, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying, like, that's not my strategy. And so, like, all these cards over here, like, generally, I don't have one card that you could not offer me a price on. And so, like for instance, that Mike Trout I bought a couple of, like a month or so ago. It's at PSA right now. That's going to vault. That's going to, for me, that's one of the first ones. I'm going to set it and forget it type thing. That's why I was thinking LeBron, because anytime I could, like, shave a little bit off of my entry into that. I mean, I was just looking at pop reports for these 2003 Chrome and 2003 base, the one where he's holding the jersey. There's 12,000 graded PSA cards of the one where he's holding the jersey. And there's 7,664 graded of the Chrome version. Like, that's a lot. That's a lot of pop report.
Yes.
I mean, there's 2,184 PSA 10 of the Chromes. Now, like, when you're thinking about all the investors out there, that's not very many. And I would imagine that out of those 2,184 PSA 10s, I would imagine there's 3 or 4 whales in there that hold most of those.
Yep.
So the rarity aspect is probably okay. But what if one of those whales decides to sell everything? Like, that's where I think this investment, like in this investment section, like when we're talking about non-traditional investments, something that the sports card world can grow in is actually, like, I don't know how you would do this, but unique holders would be a really big thing to know. How many people own what, and if you could track that at all.
Yeah.
So it's like,
that
would be really hard.
Who owns what percentage of the market share of a particular card? I think that's a good point, because I do think that plays into sort of risk management of it. Like, if one person or one company decides to liquidate their LeBrons or their Tigers or their Steph Currys or whatever, it definitely would affect the market. We've seen the opposite of that. We've seen the market be affected by apparently, like, one company or one person from time to time buying all of a card and then listing that. And so, I think that LeBron's pop count is definitely something to look at. I like that you did that. I like that you brought that up. I also like that you said the demand is probably, for someone like LeBron, always going to outweigh the pop count. So you probably shouldn't compare it to some other players, but make sure you're buying the right LeBron card. I'm with you though, Kendall. Like, my strategy is the same as your strategy. You articulated it well. That's what I'm trying to do also. So, to me, it feels riskier to spend $7,000 on a PSA 10 Topps Chrome 2003 than to spend $1,000 on a raw and then spend $60 getting it graded, and if it comes back a 7 or a 6, I'm probably still okay on my $1,000 for the now, and it might even be great for the later. I mean, who knows? But if that gets a 9 or a 10, I immediately double or immediately 7x on an investment that we were a minute ago talking about taking years to materialize. That's where I'm just less patient. I'm just less patient, and I know people will be like, "Well, guarantee the 10, buy the 10. It's going to appreciate." Sure, I agree with that strategy too. I just wanted to bring something else to the table for those of you that might not want to. That might be okay spending $1,000 or $1,060 to get a graded LeBron card, but not okay necessarily with spending 2,000 or more on it. Um, so
Yeah,
yeah,
I think it's a strong like long-term play, but not a great short-term play.
yeah. If you buy a LeBron PSA 9 because your budget's $2,000 on the Topps Chrome or the Topps paper, I might be getting that right. No, I think I'm getting it right. I think it is the Topps Chrome. But anyway, if your budget's $2,500 and you spend $2,500 on a PSA 9, I mean that thing might not go over. That could be $1,900 a year from now. Like it's got to be a
Yeah.
long. So.
And for reference, just because this is a card we've talked about previously, in like in terms of pop reports, that 2008 Kobe that we had talked about, where 2008 Kobe he's being guarded by LeBron in the Topps Chrome, the sideways card, the horizontal card. That one, the pop count and all total graded from PSA is 1,300. So the Topps Chrome of LeBron is 7 times more out there. That's not English, did not come out correctly there, but basically like the card is 7 times overgraded than it is this Topps card. Obviously it's just a regular 2008 Kobe LeBron. Like it would have been nothing unless, but it is something because it's both of them guarding each other, and
Yeah. And I think that's what I mean also when I say like be careful buying LeBron rookies sort of blindly, because there are just so many of them. Like I mean,
Yeah.
and I'm not even talking about the pop count. I'm talking about just like I don't know how many different LeBron rookie cards were produced, but I mentioned Andy's data from the Football Card Strategy show with Joe Burrow, and it would not shock me if it's something like 3,000 to 5,000 different LeBron. I mean, Upper Deck, for crying out loud, had like 250 different or something ridiculous. Correct me in the comments because I know I'm wrong. But anyway, yeah, just a couple quick more basketball notes real quick, like just to hammer our points home and also make another point that I wanted to make real quick, which is you don't always get the value of the card that other people got. So as we talk about moving out of Jimmy Butler, moving out of Grant Williams, as we talk about like even moving out of a guy like Steph Curry, which call me crazy, but I just moved out of a Steph Curry card because it was a 2009 Panini PSA 9 of him in a Golden State Warriors uniform. I didn't project that as a long-term investment. I projected it as a flip this year. And value-wise, I was right. But when I actually executed the sale, for whatever reason, my eBay auction did not materialize the way that I had hoped it would. And so I ended up being underwater on a Steph Curry rookie, which kind of sucks. But I do think that it all kind of goes to, I probably bought it at the wrong time. I bought it in February and I probably should have bought it in December, or I probably should have bought it. I probably should have waited until the season was over and then the off season kind of dies down, because while I thought I bought it while he was injured, so I thought it was going to materialize and I could sell during the conference finals for a profit. And in theory, I would have had my eBay auction just done better, had more bids. But what other things can you do that are in your control? Sometimes eBay auctions aren't really in your control. What can you do that's in your control? I think you can buy at better times. And so even though he was injured, other people probably had the same idea I had. It probably wasn't the best time to buy. And so looking at times like August, September, even December to buy cards like this is what I probably should have done. And so lastly, I would say I have question marks next to guys like, do you still buy Jason Tatum or Tyler Hero right now? I would say no. I would say avoid the temptation to buy anyone playing right now in the NBA playoffs, NBA conference finals, NBA finals, because
I mean, even beyond that, I wouldn't even be buying NBA cards right now.
yeah, no, I mean,
Shea's cards, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, his cards are up 30% almost.
yeah,
And the Thunder, I mean, that's probably because some of the hype around Thunder being able to get the number 2 overall pick, which came out last week, that they think Chet Holmgren is going to fall to number 2. First off, skinniest lineup I've ever seen in my life if he goes there.
Pokashevsky
and Chet Holmgren. Then you got Baisley, who's long. You got Shea, who's a pretty tall point guard.
And Giddey. Don't forget.
Oh, yeah. And then you can't unorthodox Giddey out there, too. Thunder are going to be the strangest looking team you've ever seen.
Giddey's hair probably weighs more than his body does, I would think. So, yeah.
Well, Chet Holmgren's jersey probably weighs more than him, so.
I think you're right. I think there's like this hype around the entire league right now, not only because the playoffs are still happening, but also because of the draft. Then we got the summer league, and there's almost no off season for basketball, similar to there is for football. But there are better buying pockets that I mentioned.
Right now.
And also, like, if you go to eBay and just search, first of all, go to NBA, go to Google and Google 2021 NBA draft results, and then copy and paste any of those guys into Google along with the terms contenders rookie auto, contenders rookie ticket auto. And they're just too expensive right now, like all of them. There's one guy that I mentioned on the Basketball Card Strategy Show, and I'm going to mention a couple more guys on an upcoming episode of the Basketball Card Strategy Show. But Cameron Thomas is probably the only guy that I feel is underpriced, maybe in the entire NBA right now. So I agree with what you're saying right now, Kendall. So, all right, cool. Well, let's move on.
And I did look it up. There's 62 different rookie cards, not counting parallel special edition cards or other inserts.
All right. Nice.
For LeBron.
Thanks for that data. Did you find the data you were looking for related to the earlier topic? Or was
Jimmy
that it?
Butler, Michael Jordan?
Jimmy Butler, Michael Jordan.
There is, as far as I can tell, there is no dual auto.
No dual auto. Probably not dual auto, though, because Jordan's upper deck specific. But maybe I'm thinking maybe there's like a dual. Maybe there's just a card that they're both on. It's like a Bulls legend card. I don't know. You don't have to look it up, but like a Bull, like something like your Kobe LeBron example, where there's a card with both of them on it for some reason. They didn't play at the same time, but anyway. So, all right, moving on to another topic. Let's talk about a couple other things that we want to circle